Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to sit over here and use this to move things along. But I'm going to say up front, I only have 5 slides. The majority of this is meant to be conversational. Once I go through some basic content, I'm going to pull people up and we're going to chat specifically about your businesses. Sound good? Okay. Feel free to jump in with questions at any time. Again, I don't have that many slides. So one of the things that I love about pricing strategy is it's like the culmination of everything in your business. Every person, every process, every element of your business affects how much you can charge and whether or not your customer will be okay with that price. So one of the frameworks that I really love for this is called 5 levels of awareness. And the reason this is really helpful is it really cements we do not all compete with each other. In fact, even if you sell the exact same product, you still might not be competing with each other. I'll give a really easy example because everyone knows a realtor. If you go to any networking event, there's always at least one realtor there. And they do not target the same person. Some of them are saying, I'm commercial and you're residential. We target completely different people. Some of them say, I target first-time home buyers versus people who are on their 4th or 5th investment property. We've talked about niches before, but there's the demographic of who somebody is. I want to target someone who lives in Las Vegas versus I can target someone who lives in the US. I can ship anywhere here. And then there's a psychographic, how they think. When you understand how your customer thinks, you can understand what to communicate to them, how they make decisions, what language is going to be powerful, and where they're even going to hang out. Should I be on Facebook? Should I be on LinkedIn? Are they not even on social media? So this slide has 5 different levels of awareness. I'm going to walk through each of these in depth because we're going to keep talking about this. This is the take-home concept I want you guys all to walk away with that's super tactical. Because the question to answer is, where is your core customer? Where do you do the best? And I would like everyone to be able to walk away with an answer for that in their own business. What I love for people to do is to pick 3 areas you think your customer works in. And when you start with that, you might say, I need to predominantly target the 1st level so that they grow with me. And at the 3rd level, they'll buy from me. It might be that I target the 2nd level because they'll buy whenever they're ready to buy. And by targeting the middle level, I get some people on either end. You're going to write your message. You're going to create your price around one customer. And you're going to test it until you make so much money that you can go test a bunch of other things and not feel concerned about it. But when you have only one opportunity to make a sale, a lot of us would rather make a sale than not make a sale, but we also don't want to leave that much money on the table. So when you're starting out, you want to find one customer, make it super clear for them, and then have them go find all of their friends for you so that you can get very specific and deep into a niche that becomes very profitable that allows you to then go play in other areas. So the first area is called unaware. And the most powerful thing about these 5 different levels is that as long as you are playing in the same area, you probably use the same strategy. If someone's completely unaware of a situation, you are the first person who introduces this to them. So maybe you're on social media and you've never heard anything about astrology before. And someone says something about your star sign and you're like, I never thought I would be a horoscope person, but like that resonates with me. The first time you hear that, you are in unaware. When you become problem aware, you go, you know what? I've learned a lot about this. The first time someone told you about 401k investing plans and you're like, I didn't even know this existed. Now you're in a different space where you're problem aware. I'm aware that I don't know as much about financials as I feel like I should. I feel like I need more financial literacy. Solution aware means you now go, I know how to solve that problem. I know that there's financial literacy courses. I know that there's financial advisors. I'm aware of multiple different solutions for this problem. Product aware means I have a specific course, a specific financial advisor, a specific thing that I would go buy, as opposed to just saying, I know the general category of thing. So far, streamlined, right? Most of us compete in one of those first 4 levels. I will also say that the first 3 levels make up 80% of everyone who's going to be buying, shopping, interacting, having a conversation with you. The last 2 levels are the most ready to buy, and they make up only 20% of the overall groups. So product aware is ready to buy because they know who you are, right? They know about your business, they know about your product, they know about your services. Most aware is where most of us try to compete. We think because we're very aware, we know all of our competitors. We know that if I'm a social media manager, that there are lots of other social media managers, and I'm always looking up what their price points are. If I'm problem aware, do I know about other social media managers if I'm just finding out that social media is a thing? No, actually, I don't. I'm just learning about the problem. I don't know about all of these different options. If I'm just becoming solution aware, do I know about a bunch of other social media managers and their price points? No, I'm just learning that social media managers exist, and I could go hire someone to do this for me. When I'm product aware, I first become aware of one product. When I become aware of multiple products and start doing research on them, then I am in this most aware category. It is the 3% of people who are most ready to buy, and that's why we compete over them so aggressively. We want these people who are ready to buy right now. Can you raise your hand if you've ever looked at something on social media and been like, all right, I'm buying that? Sometimes you didn't even wait to scroll or look or Google it or research anything else. You went from, maybe I'm completely unaware this even existed. Maybe you're problem aware, like, oh, I knew I needed something like that. Maybe you're like solution aware. I knew I needed a new wallpaper for my bathroom, but you were not planning on buying that specific product. You skipped product aware. You saw this ad. You skipped most aware, and you went straight to buying without looking at other price points. We don't do this for everything. It's not like if you're a person who always researches, you will always research everything. There's a moment in time where you're just like, nope, there is no competition. I need this coffee right now. For whatever reason, there are times when you don't have to compete against everyone. In fact, there are some times when you don't have to compete against anyone. So the question becomes, how can we differentiate ourselves? How do you price to differentiate yourself? How do you price to win over your customers if sometimes we don't even have the right competitor in mind? So I'd like you to all think about, what exactly is your competitor? I'm going to give you the biggest competitor almost everyone has and almost everyone loses to. Raise your hand if you've ever said, that's nice, but I could just not buy or do anything. I could go to this bowling place or that bowling place. I could go bowling, or I could go to the movies, or I could stay home and not spend any money. That's your first competition. Why should I do anything? Once I've gotten past that hurdle and said, no, you do have a problem. Let me make you aware of this opportunity, of this missed revenue, of this missed joy in your life. Once you get over your first competitor, there are a lot of competitors that are not in your same product category. So I'm going to go through this example, and I cannot read some of these things. That's fantastic. The overall key of this is that you might feel like you play in more than one area. One thing to think about is, where are your competitors competing? If you run a cleaning business and you feel like your competitors are competing in this area where it's all about price, who has who can offer this at the lowest cost, and you're like, what if instead of competing for those customers, I go find a customer who's not even aware of what cleaning could do for them? You know what? There are a lot of people who are hoarders and would never think about getting cleaning. There are a lot of people who have ADHD. They have mental health items. Let me go to a person who never hires cleaners and try to win their competition over. Is it difficult? Yes. But are your competitors there? No, they are not. And when you price against competitors that you don't actually need to compete against, you might be leaving money on the table. You might be making things harder for yourself. There are so many elements where when you're sitting there and going, my competition is this thing over here, when it's actually people staying at home and choosing not to do anything, or people who are always going to compete for lowest price. Maybe it's a really luxury product and you're like, actually, not only am I competing against this luxury product, I want to compete against this luxury product. Because if people are comparing my leggings to Lululemon, my $50 leggings sound fantastic. But if they compare me to Target, where they can get leggings for $10 to $20, my $50 leggings are really expensive. My price is just part of my strategy. It is the cornerstone of my strategy. It summarizes every other element of my strategy. Who is my customer? How do I reach out to them? How do I message them? All of that is here. So what is pricing really about? It's about your value. It's about your perceived value. How do you communicate that to which customer? And so where should you compete? Wherever you can differentiate your value best. If you know that there is a customer that knows your value, where it's easy to communicate it to them, and they'll buy for whatever price point, you would go after that group of people. If I tried, I'm gonna say the name of a product, and I will guarantee you a lot of people in this room would have no value for it. And then someone would say, it doesn't matter what price you charge for it, I need it. I will not ask you to raise your hands. But if you had to buy insulin, some of us would say, I don't need that. I just don't. And some of us would say, it doesn't matter what price point you use, I need that. It's very clear differentiated value. Maybe you have a different product that has very clear differentiated value. I'm going to show you a little bit of what that journey looks like. And again, I want to save the majority of the time for you to stand up, volunteer, tell us about your product, tell everyone about your product. And then let's go through a journey of this together where we can find who your competitor is, how you want to differentiate from them. It doesn't just have to be price. But once you know why you win, then we can go figure out how you close. And part of that is your pricing. So here's how we win at each of these levels. If you're unaware, I win by making you aware. A really, really great example of this, social media is one of the greatest education tools that exists. If your entire marketing strategy is built around social media, you probably are targeting at least some people who are unaware. A great example of people who focus on unaware, financial literacy, first-time home buyers, anyone who's saying, I want you to think about something you're not even thinking about right now. Have you thought about buying a home? Have you thought about starting to save to buy a home? Have you started thinking about what your financial plan to buy a home would be? If your answer is no, you are in the unaware category. And whoever is trying to communicate to you is trying to pull you into this problem-aware space and be the person you trust and go to for information there. They're not expecting you to buy, but when you are ready, they want to be top of mind. In the problem-aware space, can someone read that out to me? What does it say underneath it?
Still determining if problem exists for them and you understand their problem well enough for them to trust you.
Oh, does that resonate?
Still determining if problem exists for them and you understand their problem well enough for them to trust you.
So there's a lot of us that are really focused in on this area right here, where it's hard to communicate exactly what problem you solve. If you target people based on what you're offering, I sell chips, that's a commodity. You make the least margin on commodities. If I go, I have a tasting flight of 3 different bags of chips, now I have more of an experience, right? That's going to increase. But what's the problem I'm trying to solve? If I want a bag of chips, I'm hungry. Maybe I'm craving a specific flavor of chips. If I want a flight of chips, that's a different problem, right? I might say something like, I'd like to taste new flavors I'm not used to. When you can articulate someone's problem, it's going to feel very different. We explain and we compete for the problem space by being the person who understands the problem the best. If you sit down with someone who is a business coach and they talk to you and it feels like they can read your mind, they got you. That's the person you trust. If you sit down with someone, you're just like, I feel like everything they're saying to me, I could find on Google, ChatGPT, I've heard it somewhere else, doesn't feel like they understand your problem enough. When they get when they get your problem, when they explain it clearly to you, such that you're like, I don't need to explain anything, they just understand it. They have started to make their solution something you would be interested in pursuing. You are now solution aware. This person, their service or their product, is now a solution you believe could solve your problem. In this space, we're saying, what is the solution that is right for me? Do I believe that the solution can solve my problem? If I start to believe that this specific person's product is a solution that can solve my problem, I'm now product aware. When you are product aware and you choose to not buy, I already believe you understand my problem. I already believe your solution works. I already believe in your specific product or service. The only reason I don't buy is price. Before this, everything else you can add more perceived value by communicating better, by understanding better, by creating more marketing materials, by creating more opportunities for them to spend time with you and understand you. Up until the point where they're product aware, they're not saying no because of price. At that point, promotions and discounts is how they get you. If you've ever gotten an email that just says 20% off, and they're trying to get you in, they're hoping that they've already won you over in every other category and it's just price. Sometimes we go, that's such a good price, I'm going to skip the fact that I don't believe you understand my problem, that you're the right solution, that you're the right product. It's a low enough price, I'll just try it anyways. So that could be part of your strategy as well. But if you're at this product aware stage and you're competing with discounts and promotions because they're comparing your price with your price. It's not until you start competing against other people who are in the same solution category and the same product category that they start going, why should I use ChatGPT when I could use Gemini, or vice versa? Why should I use Bing when I could use Google? Your features and your pricing are how you win when you're at the most aware stage. And yet, how many of us have spent so much time building out packages, explaining what's in one package versus another, and saying, I can't launch my business until I can explain why I win against competitors I never plan on competing against. That hits, right? Let's take a look at this. Who chooses to compete at each of these stages? So I'll give you a couple names that are not on this slide, right? What emails do we get the most? I get a lot of Nike emails. Nike tells me about their promos and their discounts all the time. They are competing at a product aware level. Nike's also very interesting because sometimes you're gonna be like, I don't know anything about sports shoes. The first person who ever taught me anything about sports shoes was Nike. Is that common these days? It's more likely that most people are going to have some level of awareness for big brand categories. But if you're in a more niche area, you might be going after people who are mostly unaware. So previously we talked about financial literacy. If you're saying, do you have a plan to create savings to go buy a home? I am not targeting someone who has savings put away and is ready to buy a home. I'm specifically targeting people who are completely unaware, who are not planning on saving their anything to go buy a home anytime nearby. And who do I have to compete against? I don't have to compete against anybody else because I don't know anybody else. You are the person who put this on the map for me. If we were to throw out a couple of businesses, throw out the name of a business and where you think they compete. I'll do an easy one. I think ChatGPT targets unaware, and problem aware. That it's very, very early stage. It's more than one, but if I were to pick one, I would say they actually target problem aware more than anything else. They get a lot of people who are unaware of what AI even is, but it's not until you're aware of the problem that AI can solve that you actually sign up. And the way that they get us at this very early stage, that most of us cannot afford to do, is to give 180 million people access to their product for free. If you have that type of scale, you can compete in that way. If we were to throw out a couple other business names, what would we throw out?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. I would say that most people are aware of what McDonald's is. Most people are aware of fast food. So realistically, McDonald's is one of the things that is going to compete with, oh, here's a fun way to think about this. Have you ever sat down in a room and said, McDonald's versus Wendy's, McDonald's versus Carl's Jr., McDonald's versus this? If you have never analyzed different fast food places, you would not be in the most aware category. And I do not believe that McDonald's competes most heavily for that space. If you have people who are like McDonald's ride or die, that's more of a product space. They don't believe in other fast food chains or other fast food options. They're more focused on this product aware space. The problem that you're hungry and you need food is common. The solution, there are fast food restaurants that will give you fast food cheaply, not as cheap these days, is a common thing that people are aware of. McDonald's predominantly competes in the product and most aware spaces. And you know which one you are based on whether or not you've ever had a debate with one of your friends about what the best fast food restaurant is. If you guys had an intense debate, you're most aware. If someone else had a debate and you sat in the room and smiled, you're product aware, and you would go to McDonald's if they had the right promos and discounts, which they are constantly running. McDonald's lives in the product aware space. I'm going to do this example live with you because I think it's really powerful. It's really interesting to think that sometimes McDonald's doesn't compete against other fast food restaurants. Sometimes McDonald's might compete against a Walmart where you could go get a sandwich for a similar price. Wow, grocery store and fast food. We're going to have these two compete. Maybe McDonald's is competing against a sit-down restaurant that's really nice. Sometimes your competitor is not who you think it is. So at the very top of this, when I'm unaware, I might be on social media and I might go, oh, you know what? That's a really nice living room. Their office is really pretty. I'm on Zoom and I'm looking at someone else's office and being like, wow, that's really nice. I would maybe really enjoy having calls like that. And I start to move into the space where I'm problem aware. I want a nicer living room, office, home decor. Okay, then the next thing I go is, I think if I were to just hang a painting over my fireplace in my office where my camera normally sits, I think I would solve my problem. I'm now solution aware. Let's talk about some products that I might start looking at. I might start looking at some photos. I might start looking at different art pieces. I might start looking at some services like interior designers. There's a really, really famous saying, and it's a very, very specific product. Nobody looks to buy a 1/4-inch drill. They want a 1/4-inch hole. What am I even talking about? I'm not a construction person. I don't know that much about tools. And yet, if I want to hang up a photo, I need a hole to go put a nail in so I can go hang up this photo. So I don't want a 1/4-inch drill. I don't want a specific tool, but that might be what I need. I don't really want a drill. I want a hole. I don't really want a hole. I want to hang up a photo. I don't really want to hang up a photo. I want a nice office. What's the problem you're actually trying to solve? What's the language you actually need to use to go get your customer? If you go on Amazon and you try to buy a commodity, a drill and a screw, versus if you go onto Amazon and you try to find an experience, paint your own photo, and here's all of the materials you need to hang it up after. Where am I going to make more margin? And in this example, I'm actually giving you more. Imagine having exactly the same kit. Here's art supplies and a screwdriver and a screw and all of that stuff. And I call it DIY paint set, paint and hang set. Okay, it's a weird name, but I understand what you're trying to do. I know what's in this product. versus make your living room beautiful said. Who knows my problem better? And they hit directly at it. They know exactly what I'm trying to solve. What if it wasn't make your living room better? It was fill your living room with love said. You buy this, you give it to your kids, they paint it, you put it up, you're gonna fill your living room with love. When you know the problem really well, you can market a lot better. You can price much differently. You can close sales using things other than just your price. You do not have to win by being the lowest bidder, but you do have to know your customer best. I think I have one more slide. Nope, that is the last one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull it back up here for a second. This is the one that explains if you are competing in this area, here's how to win. So with that in mind, I would love to invite you all up. I think there is another mic. And the goal would be, tell me a little bit about your business. What's your product or service? Where do you think you compete best? And then let's talk a little bit about your pricing strategy. Does anyone want to go first? Yeah, come on up. Hi. Hello, hello. Do we have a mic for her?
Here you go. I'm gonna take this.
Yes. Tell us all your name.
Okay, so I'm Nyla,
Nyla.
and I have I don't love after hearing your pitch thing. I don't love saying it this way, but executive coaching and leadership training business.
Okay.
So my goal is to help businesses excel through giving their leadership the tools and solving their problems, helping them through their challenges and pain points.
I love it. So based on the way that she worded that, the first thing that we know, she's not targeting very, very small businesses. You need to have at least one employee because she said leadership and team, right? I will also say there are times when we want to be more direct. We want to be very clear. Like if you're asking people to help you, you might say, I want them to have a team of at least 10. They have to manage a team of at least 10. It could be all in one business. It could be just the engineering team alone is 10 people. So being specific is really valuable. There's also times when our customer doesn't want us to be specific. Our customer might want us to say things like, oh, you're going to help with leadership. I don't want to know that you're only working with me because I have 10 people. So when you think about your space, what type of business are you working with? How large are these teams? What types of challenges are they overcoming?
So honestly, I'm just looking for tailoring solutions for any leader. I really believe with all of my experience, I've led large teams, I've led small teams. I think that the principles are the same. So leadership principles are the same, whether you're the level, some of your concerns may be different if you are mid-level leader,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're in the C-suite. Mm-hmm. Your view and your concerns are going to be slightly different, but the leadership principles are pretty much going to be the same. So I want to tailor solutions for my clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I want to do things like helping their teams perform better, helping them, and then I'll offer training on that too. So I want to do coaching, but I also want to have training. So if they don't have time for a 12-week course, maybe they want one-on-one customized solutions.
So we're going to try and do one really specific, super nitpicky example.
Okay.
I'm going to use pricing as an example of this.
Okay.
If I were to say, I help businesses get more revenue, we all want that, but it's a very, very wide descriptor. Mm-hmm. We would not all say, I need to book a call with Sami. If I were to say, I help businesses who have not sold 100 products this month figure out the right price to get those sales, you would know instantly whether or not you need my help. It is also a lot more easy for me to price around solving that specific problem than just getting you more revenue. I don't know what I'm going to do to get you more revenue. I do know what I'm going to do to figure out your pricing.
Okay.
If you were to get super specific and pick one problem that you know people have, you're like, this is a big problem.
Mhm.
And I will say, almost everyone's first big problem is going to be either, and most likely, a problem you personally have had and had to overcome yourself. And in some cases, it will be a problem that a client had and they had to overcome yourself. But almost every problem, you're gonna get super specific and you're gonna say, that I can solve.
Okay. I think again, helping the people you manage perform better, which in turn enhances your performance. So if the people under you are performing, then it's going to help your performance and help your bottom line.
Tell me about a specific team member, whether they're underperforming or they were already performing well and they got better. What was
Okay.
the specific problem that team member had that the leader needed to help them overcome?
Well, it could be resources. It could be lack of training. It could be communication. It could be that the leader became better at communicating what they truly wanted, their goals, the clarity. It could be they got certified. So I guess that's closer to training.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's training, sometimes it's communication.
I'm going to ask you to pick something. We want to make money, right? We want good margins.
Yes.
So what if you were to pick something, because you get to pick,
Okay.
that you're like, that's an expensive problem to solve.
Okay.
If I were to help you solve this problem, there's a lot of value you would get out of it. So I get to charge a lot for it.
Okay. Well, how about helping business leaders meet their strategic goals or their goals for that quarter, their quarterly goals?
Imagine this, whatever solution and problem that you work with, you're going to have 100 customers tomorrow and they all get solved the same way. What single problem would they all say, I have that, I need you right now?
I thought that was the first thing I brought up. Again, I think a lot of people have challenges with getting people that they lead to perform at the level they want. I really think that's a challenge that most leaders have dealt with. They have the difficult employee. They have, I don't like to use that terminology, but I think that they feel that way, that it's just for whatever reason, I can't get this person, I can't get the most out of this person. And I'm not quite sure why.
So one of the things I'll encourage you to do, and I actually, this comes from a really great speaker that I met yesterday. It's called Value Tables. I'm happy to run through this with you.
Okay.
You can write down all of these different problems, and then
Okay.
you can go in and be like, ooh, that is the problem I can charge the most to solve for. Let's go center around that one.
Okay.
I'll give you a couple different directions to think through. If I were to solve that problem of trying to get more out of my team members by training the team member to communicate better with the leader versus training the leader to better set expectations for the team members, that is already differentiating myself more specifically. If I want to get more specific than that, I'm going to pick one I'm familiar with and I really like. It's called nonviolent communication. So if I were to say, I train team members on nonviolent communication so that they can inform you of what they need to be able to excel and meet your strategic goals. Did I just tell someone that I either exactly know what their problem is and I can solve it, or they don't have that problem and I don't need to worry about spending time with them?
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
We can get super, super specific, right? The other thing that being specific helps us with is it's a little bit harder for me to price for getting more out of your team than it is for, I'm going to teach them nonviolent communication so that they will bring their needs back to you in a healthy and productive way. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to host a workshop. I'm going to have a conversation. This is going to take me 2 hours. It's going to give them a lot of value. I'm going to price somewhere between what I need to make for my hourly wages, this, so and so. That's your lower end. We don't price based off what it costs you. We price based off of the value to the customer.
Right. So I guess in my case, I would then be changing my business model and going after the team versus the leader. I mean, maybe I can help the leader teach their team nonviolent communication.
You don't have to pick that specific example. If you were to pick something that works for you, what do you teach leaders? Really, really specific item. where you can go, yes, it's always going to be 2 hours. It's always going to cost me, if I need to hire someone for this, it's always going to cost me $500 to hire a facilitator for this, because you always solve it the same way.
Okay.
We start with that problem. We sell a bunch of it and make you a lot of money. And then you get to solve other problems with all of the track record, all of your existing clients. Everything becomes easy once you get that first one out the door.
I think I got one.
Yeah.
So training leaders how to get more out of their day schedule, training the leader themselves to be more productive, giving them the structure to have time to go home at a reasonable hour. I think a lot of people believe to be strong leaders, you have to work 60 hours a week. You have to sacrifice time with family. And I don't believe that is the case if you structure things the proper way. And I think that's always going to be the same.
I love that so much. If you can, again, share with everyone one specific thing that you would teach them so that they can manage their time better, what would that be?
Okay, so one thing I would teach is to manage distractions. I think one of the problems that we have is that we try and do everything at once. And creating structures and time for everything will help you be most proficient in that area, like one thing at a time.
Yeah. So imagine being able to say, I am a leadership coach that helps leaders make the most of their team and time by identifying and eliminating distractions that cost 10 plus hours a week.
I love that because it's quantifiable.
Now that we have quantifiable, how much is 10 hours of their week worth to them? And how many weeks are there? How long are they thinking? When you think about your customer, you might say, I'm working with an enterprise corporation that thinks annually. That if I say I'm saving you 10 hours a week, they've instantly jumped to, wow, you're saving me 500 weeks a 500? 5,000 hours a year. 5,000. Wow, you have immense value to me. How much do you want for this? $5,000 done. That's $1 an hour. Oh, that's really nice. It's lovely to price that way, right? But if you're working with a smaller business, it's like, I'm not even sure I'll be open in 6 months. They might be thinking on a smaller time horizon. They might be thinking something like, I mean, you're going to give me 10 hours back, but it's 10 hours at this minimum wage. So I really only value these 10 hours at $200 each week. I really want to make sure I get ROI. Who your customer is and how you communicate to them is super valuable here.
Yeah, I still think I get what you're saying on the small business, but I think giving them 10 hours back a week, let's say, will give them more time to focus on making money, to have, strategize on those things that are going to bring them, tens of thousands of dollars in the door. So if they were so busy with this and let's say they have 60 hours a week, right? And they're kind of everywhere. They're doing everything. I give them 10 hours back. They can try to reinvest that time on those money-making decisions, on how do I generate revenue? Those things that they didn't have time before to do, now they're freed up to have time to make more money in their business, to attract more customers. They can use those 10 hours to go after their customer base now.
Look at her. She understands the problem. I want to close this really, really tactically. So what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to have a conversation.
Okay.
I will say she does have the type of business model where, especially when you're first starting out, you might be giving different prices to each team. It might be that you have to quote everything custom. When you start recognizing patterns, you'll be able to get prices much more easily. But the reason it's going to feel this way is because everyone is going to value your results differently. Everyone is going to have a different answer for how much time they think that you're going to save them. So I would love for you to start this conversation, and I'll tell you exactly the best way to run this is you're going to have me give you all the answers. So you're going to ask questions like, if I showed you how to do these things, how much time do you think it would save you each week?
Okay.
And if I give you that answer, it came from me. I believe me. And if you were to say, what would you value that many more hours per week back at? I give you that answer. And then you can start getting into it and say, okay, so if we were to do this for you and your team, what would you value that additional efficiency, productivity at? And then you can choose a number. I would recommend somewhere around a tenth is really good in B2B, because you're going to end up with a big number. You're going to end up with a big, big number where you're like, do I really get to charge $100,000 for this? A tenth is a good starting place. It's also a nice round number. But really what you're doing is you're testing whether or not you can communicate the value. You can find customers who have that value. But again, if every number comes from me, at the end of it, you look at my face and you're like, she's going to buy this program because she is going to get 10 times the ROI. Or she didn't give me the right numbers and she's sitting here going, am I really going to get that many hours back?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be part of the learning process, such that you can eventually say things like, when I've worked with other clients, we've found that they get somewhere around 5 hours back.
Okay.
I'll let you run the conversation.
Okay. Okay, so if I were to offer you an opportunity to gain 10 hours per week back into your work life, how much would you value that as?
Oh, so interestingly, this actually hits two different things. Because I'm so focused on how am I going to get 10 hours back,
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't give you that number. So I would actually go back one question and say, if I were to do this, how many hours a week do you feel like it would free up for you? And have me give you that answer. I'm actually in my mind psychologically rejecting whether or not I would have 10 hours. And it's making it hard for me to value that because I'm actually stuck on that first one.
I see, but then I guess my challenge would be, I don't want to give the whole program to you sitting here to say, if I were to do this, and this, how many hours would that give you back? Because I just kind of given you the blueprint.
Yeah, I totally understand. That is a common feeling.
Yeah.
The first thing that I'll say is don't underestimate yourself. Just because you give the information doesn't mean I can implement it, right? That sometimes the most powerful thing to do is to be confident that you can give something away for free. They're like, oh yeah, take it. And they're like, well, why would you do that? Because it's really hard to implement, to be accountable, to do all of these things. That's where your value comes from.
I get it. I guess my problem is I don't have fluff. Like if I give you something, I'm going to give you do this streamlined version. I'm not going to, it's going to work. And so I think that's challenging for me. I'm an engineer undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just bam, bam, bam. If I do this is what you need to do. I value your time and my time. So if I give a CEO or, a business leader something, it's going to be very quick. It's not going to take a long time, and it's going to be very understandable. So it's really hard for me to think in those,
Yeah.
I'm task oriented.
And it's honestly, this is part of the process. It can be really hard to find questions that I feel like I'm giving everything away if I say it this way.
Yeah.
But if I were to ask you, if we could eliminate distractions that you don't actually need to be doing, how much time do you think that would free up for you each week? Did I tell you how to eliminate the distractions?
No.
Do you have enough information to go do it yourself?
No, that's true.
And if that's enough, if you just needed to hear that there are a lot of distractions you shouldn't be working on, that's all. If that is truly all you needed, it's just to know that that's an option for you to do. One, they've had that thought at least once before. They still haven't done it. Two, they still might not know how or why they were not able to eliminate those distractions. They might not even know which things are distractions.
Mm-hmm.
But three, if they genuinely, truly did not need anything more than that, you would be wasting a lot of your time trying to sell to someone who doesn't eliminate distractions. You are actually targeting someone who goes, Even if you were to tell me eliminate distractions, I wouldn't feel confident on what those distractions are, how to identify the right things to not do, and how to make sure I don't get tempted to do things I know aren't high priority.
Mhm.
That's also more problem aware. If I were to say those things, the type of person who gets distracted would say things like, how did you read my mind? When you can do all of those things, then they recognize you as a potential solution. And as they understand your process more, then your service becomes the product they start to follow.
Okay.
If one of the questions you could ask would be, if we were to be able to identify distractions that you didn't need to be working on, how much time do you think you could save each week? What other questions do you feel like wouldn't give away too much?
If I could help you streamline your processes in your day,
Uh-huh.
how much time would that give you back?
If we could be really specific in one area.
Okay, because that is very broad. So if I can help you spend less than 1 hour answering emails a day, how much time would that save you?
Wow, I spend like 3 hours a day on email. If I could cut that down to just one, I would save 2 hours each day.
Okay. And if I could give you that 10 hours a week, assuming you work 5 days a week, back, how much value would that have for you?
Oh man, I was thinking of doing this project, and I was honestly thinking if I could get 5, 10 more hours a week, I might be able to launch a new revenue stream in 3 months.
Wow, that's great. So how much do you think that revenue stream would give you?
You know, it's still a little too early to test, but I'll say one, just testing it has value to me. But I genuinely think that it could bring in an extra 100K a year.
That's amazing. So would you be open to setting a meeting with me, an introductory meeting, and discussing ways that we can get you to that new revenue stream?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
She didn't give a price, but up to 10K probably would have been really easy in that moment for me to go, if this could be 100K per year and I pay 10K one time, really I want more information on why is this going to work and do the thing that I want, which is get me under 1 hour a day for emails. That is the only part that I didn't personally validate, is that I did not say this will work for me.
Mhm.
But every other thing is my own number. It's me saying, I think that's the value to me. All right, do we have time for another?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, come on up. Tell us all your name and a little about your product or service.
Well, hello. My name is Monifa Caines. I have a company called Queen of Spades where I make, create, and design jewelry and hair accessories.
I love it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Where do you think you currently compete?
I currently compete on the one-on-one customer right now. And what I'm trying to do is approach stores, whether they're boutiques or department stores or even sports, NFL teams, and sell to them a collection. So I'm trying to increase my customer base, plus gain a lot of contracts at the same time, specifically working with other companies or sports teams.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about your collections? What do they look like?
Right. Each collection is different, but what I do is create bold, beautiful jewelry and hair accessories that if you only have 5 minutes, you can put it on and look great and walk out that door. So it is eye-catching. It is something that can dress up your clothes, or if you go out and you're already dressed, just make it a little bit even more surprising when people see you with a beautiful collection, whether it's a head wrap or whether it's a matching jewelry set, rings that have different stones, different designs, and different colors.
Okay. So if you think about people who buy your product today,
Yes.
do you think that they came to you saying, I know that you're going to solve my problem? Or do you think that they were unaware and they just found you?
Unaware, they like my collection, they found me. Yes.
All right. So today you work with people who are unaware.
Yes.
They're not looking to solve a problem.
No.
If they were to solve a problem, what problem would you solve for them?
Well, I would solve that everything I make is not, you can't find it anywhere. A lot of the things I make, I personally handcraft them. So even if they miss the collection, when it's gone, it's gone. I do not remake those pieces. So a lot of the collections there's a certain amount and that's it. They won't find it again.
Do a lot of people today buy them for themselves or as a gift?
Both. I've had, of course, they buy them for themselves first, but then they would DM me saying, I'd like to send this as a gift for someone. Can you send it here? And here's a note and stuff like that. So both.
One of the hardest things to do as a small business is to get data for other businesses. It's called benchmarking. For other people, that's actually far above. Most times people are going to buy more for themselves. 40% would be very, very high. Having access to that data is a little difficult. Being a part of a community and being able to share with others helps a lot for that. And I would actually say that one area you could compete in is fashion, apparel, and accessories. And the other one would be bespoke or collectibles.
Yes.
And when you start solving different problems, I want something to wear versus I want something that no one else has or ever will have.
Yes.
That is a different problem, again, from I want to gift something that no one else could gift.
Right.
If you were to start thinking about how you want to compete, how you want to differentiate yourself, what is the problem you think you can best have differentiated value in? So both one, high value, and two, clear value.
Okay, well, with the high value, depending on what I'm designing at the time, I design at different levels, good, better, best. And so when I do the best collection, it's of course of higher value and there are less of that. And they are more of a collectible and they know that when they go somewhere, nobody will have that piece at all. I mean, what was the other one?
So we were talking about differentiated value. Therefore, the highest value and the most clear value.
Okay, the most clear value basically is that the way I have been marketing it was that when you put it on and how it will jazz up any outfit that you have. And so when I show examples, and not just the jewelry, but when I show examples of different outfits and how you can take it from A to B, and whether you're dressed up to the nines or just wearing a white t-shirt and leather pants and walk out the door, how this can make someone feel when they walk out that door, knowing that they look phenomenal.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting exercise. Okay, we're going to differentiate problem versus features.
Yes.
So your actual core item solves one core problem. Everything else is a feature. So if we're going to do it this way, let's do headscarves. I don't want to do my hair today. Versus my hair is frizzy.
Yes.
Which of those resonates better with your customer?
Well, I would say I want to look fantastic, even though my hair is not done.
Okay.
Yes, that would resonate with someone, and not just say, I don't want to do my hair today, because they all in the end want to look great.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
it's your product, it's your
Yes.
customer, you know them best.
Mhm.
If you were to go then a little deeper, is there more value? Is there a bigger problem or a clearer problem that could
Mhm.
make someone go like, I got to work with Monifa. It's her product.
Mhm. Well, when I designed my head wraps, and this is another part. I also design for cancer survivors, because they were looking for other options, not just head coverings, but also head wraps. A lot of them are new to head wraps, but they don't know how to wrap their hair. There are some that come pre-tied and some that you have to wrap yourself. Now, I used to be a registered nurse, so I was able to incorporate different textiles, given that out or pull out their hair. So when I started doing a line for and what they were looking for, not just being beautiful, but functional and comfortable, that really worked.
We're talking about features
Mhm.
versus is must have versus nice to have.
Yes.
If it doesn't solve my problem, it's not a must have.
Right.
Having a good day,
Mhm.
I don't have your problem.
Right.
The higher value problem to solve or a more clear problem to solve. Like right now, I'm saying I want to look good and I have a bad hair day,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
If you're saying, actually, if you don't want to damage your hair,
Mhm.
if you have curly hair and you don't want to damage it,
Yes.
our head scarves protect against that. Maybe that's going to be something that people are willing to pay more for.
That's true. It and you look really good without having to spend at least half an hour on your hair.
So we said this at the beginning, like who do you currently work with? And we
Mhm.
said it's people who are unaware.
Yes.
And if they are truly unaware, what it would mean is they would have never bought a headscarf before.
Mhm.
They might have seen one and it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. But then they come across your page and they're
Mhm.
like, oh,
That's an idea. Yes.
and maybe it's a video. It's a short form video that says
Mhm.
something like, have you had a bad hair day
Mhm.
and still wanted to look great
Yes.
with no time?
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, that is a problem I have. That's a solution that would work for me. This is a product I'm aware of now. You could go all the way through multiple stages very quickly. I could also look at this and say, actually, the reason I'm drawn to this is because I've already seen headscarves on other people.
Yes.
I already know that this solves my problem.
Yes.
And it's your features that made me go over the line.
Mhm.
So the problem that you solve, let's use the bad hair day example currently,
Mhm.
versus the features that you have. I use high quality materials that
Mhm.
will protect your hair,
Yes.
that while also giving back to the community and supporting cancer survivors.
Yes.
Those are actually features. When do I focus on features? When I'm already product aware.
Absolutely.
So if I'm pricing around someone who's most aware and comparing me against other headscarves, that's going to be somewhere where your features and your pricing matter more. And right now you're focused on adding more value through features. But if you were truly going after someone who's just problem aware, they didn't know that there's any other product that exists that could give them a good hair day with no time.
I see exactly what you're saying. When I first started my business, I was showing my head wraps, but it wasn't until I showed the video and talked about the actual textile, where it came from in Africa, and where some of the proceeds were going to. I see what you're saying. That people were saying, looking at it and saying it's a 1, 2, 3 tie, because it only takes three motions to do it. And then I just like where, if I buy this, what this represents and where some of the proceeds are going. So I did that video one time, and I see what you're saying. I didn't connect the dots before on why there was an uptake in the sales, but I absolutely see what you're saying right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about market research
Mhm.
and sizing and pricing. So we're talking about two different problems here.
Mhm.
One of them is around having bad hair days and wanting to look good.
Mhm.
So having your hair look good
Yes.
versus having your hair be healthy.
Yes.
So the two things that are going to be true are one of these might be bigger than the other. It
Mhm.
might be that there are more people who want their hair to look good than
Mhm.
people who want their hair to be healthy.
Right.
I don't know this right now, but Monifa might have a guess
Mhm.
around how she wants to message first. And in the world of social media, you can make both videos and just let people tell you what they want more.
Yes.
The second thing is when you know who you are working with, you will know how they value you. Because the question might come up, does someone who wants their hair to look good value a headscarf more than someone who wants their hair to be healthy?
Mhm.
Well, let's take a look at this. If I want my hair to look good, what are my competitors? I might be buying hair products, gels, things that are going to style my hair, hairsprays. You might ask me things like, how much do you currently spend on hairstyling products?
Mhm.
How much time do you spend on hairstyling products? If you didn't have to rebuy
That's great.
products
That's great.
and spend that time,
Mhm.
what would you value that at?
Yes. Time.
In another version of the world, I might be buying keratin treatments and saying I want my hair to be healthy again. I might be spending a lot of time going to the salon. It does still come down to money and time, but what I am currently spending on is different. If you knew I spend $300 on keratin treatments versus $20 on hairspray,
Mhm.
which problem do you think is more valuable to me personally?
Mhm. Absolutely. Just saving the time and still looking great with the head wraps instead of just buying hundreds of dollars every month to maintain the hair. But you can give your hair a break too and still look good.
Do you have social media accounts today?
Yes.
Can you share them with us?
Yes. Oh my God, we're going to go on my social media. Sure.
No, just tell us what it
Oh.
is so we can all look at it.
Oh, sure. Yes. It's called Queen of Spades Style.
Okay.
And that's on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Queen of Spades Style. And on LinkedIn, it's Queen of Spades Style. So
Fantastic. That you saw. Find your problem, they'll help you find more people who have that problem.
mhm.
If we go watch whichever one resonates with us, it will send it to more and more people who share that problem. And you
Right.
can watch your views and be like, oh, you know what? This is actually the thing that people care about more. It gets shared
Yes.
more. And then you can price around that and be like, I did not know this, but because I am helping people have healthy hair,
Yes.
the materials are not a feature. The hair.
Yes.
Is that
Get
helpful?
It's very helpful
Okay.
because I'm putting it out there a little bit more to help people really solve that problem where I was thinking another way.
And
Yeah.
you know what? One of the things I love doing, make a poll. For those of you who wear headscarves, what is your primary reason?
Yes.
Put it out there, let them tell you, create more content around both of them.
You got it. Thank
Awesome.
you. This was so helpful.
Yes, I think we are at time. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.